This is TRAXXfm, and it's time for Face to Face with your host, speaking to today's panelists. Face to Face, exclusively on TRAXXfm.
Welcome to this week's edition of Face to Face. It is coming to you live in the studios of TRAXXfm in Angkasa Puri, Kuala Lumpur for the segment today. And speaking of live, we are also live on Facebook now at TRAXXfm Official. If you'd like to catch us there, if you have a comment, question for our guest of the day, that's the best way to get in touch with us live as the interview segment proceeds. Yeah, so join us at TRAXXfm Official. We have gone live there. Yeah? Meanwhile, welcoming into the studios in person today. Right, I've already had a conversation with this gentleman sometime in 2021, yeah? And today, of course, his face-to-face segment really in person, right? So welcoming into the studios of TRAXXfm, Dato Haji Abdul Aziz Abdul Razak, who is the Deputy Commissioner General of Prison Security and Correctional, right, side of things, from the Malaysian Prison Department. Dato, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, Kong.
Welcome. Thanks for taking the time out from your busy schedule to be with us to talk about a different perspective to understanding and, more importantly, making sure that we manage and, most importantly, break the COVID-19 chain overall. Now, particularly when it comes to the prison environment, it's a challenging situation to manage, I'm sure, from your side, right? But maybe as an introduction, for those who are not so familiar, and I think it's also very interesting information that we don't normally have access to, right, in terms of the prison system, how that's run, and also, I mean, even down to key basics and statistics, like how many inmates are there? How many prisons are there throughout Malaysia? Dato, tell us.
Okay, thank you, Kong. As per today, the number of inmates in our prison facilities is about 67,223. With the capacity at the moment, we only have 62,282. So meaning say we are overcrowding, Mr. Kong. So with the number of inmates, 67,000, as I mentioned just now, our facilities throughout Malaysia, we have 39 prison institutions. So with 39 institutions, we also have a separate number with different law, how we call it, detain them. Under the separate law, we call it a preventive law. We have another 5 prison institutions located throughout Malaysia, and we have we call it school for juvenile. We also have the facilities in throughout Malaysia. We have 3 at the moment. So total number 39 prison institutions at the moment. So we don't have any intention to increase the number at the moment.
Right. Yeah. So overall, I mean, you're essentially saying that our prisons are generally, if I can use the term, overcrowded. Yeah. Right, unfortunately so, right? How many inmates can our prison system handle, ideally at its maximum capacity?
We have, we call it the procedures, and then how we calculate the number of maximum capacity we can accommodate the inmates in our facility. We have 62,282 the capacity actually. The number is already increased from compared 2021, 2020. With we rented, we call it Pusat Latihan Khidmat Negara. So we increased the number. So at the moment we have 62,282. So it increased to erase we call it the overcrowded, as we mentioned just now.
Yeah. Of course, then one of the key issues, of course there are other ones as well, the overall overcrowding as an issue itself, I think that's something that needs to be also addressed, right? Even with the additional facilities like you mentioned, even converting some of the Pusat Khidmat Negara and so on. that question aside, as important as it is, of the total number of inmates that we currently do have, this is in context of course, COVID-19.
Yeah.
The pandemic that's besieged us all for the past 2 years, and something that we're still dealing with in terms of the latest variants and so on, yeah? What are the stats on the inmates when it comes to vaccination, and how has that program generally been run? I guess in terms of control, it's easy. Like everybody's in there, you just go and administer the jab, right?
Yeah.
But do share with us, is it 100%? Is it close to that, or what is it?
Okay, at the moment, the number of inmates being vaccinated, okay, different first dose, second dose, and single dose. But can we generally understood by we call it fully vaccinated.
Okay.
At the moment we have 84%. 84%, but with single dose and first dose we achieve 93%. So the number will be increased from time to time with cooperation with the Ministry of Health, MOH. We will vaccine inmate. The number of inmates, the balance, as I mentioned, 93%. So 7% will continue vaccinated from time to time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess then the question is that why like I had put an assumption in my head, which is essentially because everything is under a controlled environment. Obviously, it's a prison that we're talking about. Why can't it be closer? Maybe not 100, but maybe like 99%. Is it because of a supply situation, allocation, budget? What is it?
Okay, it's a good question actually, Kok. Why we can achieve 100%? All right. Actually, the inmates come and go. They're having, we call it court case. So might be this week they come and then get to the court back if they are in a remand. But if they are, we call it a convicted person, we can do. Never mind, because we call it we are under our control. But the problem is for the remand prisoner. If remand prisoner in a long time, we can do 100% for them. But they are under purview of court. When they go to the court, might be they don't come for 1 month, then they come back to prison. So it depends. So for me, that's not an issue to achieve 100%. If the number of inmates, might be they are being vaccinated before, outside, before they caught by the police. So we have the record, so we can refer the background of the prisoner, and then the profile. So if they are vaccinated before in prison, so the number will increase. So at the moment, Ministry of Health and our prison department will cooperate together to ensure that we call it fully vaccinated among the prisoners.
Okay. That's definitely a tough thing to manage,
Yeah.
Right? Those who are in remand and they're not permanently there. And then, of course, you also have to balance against the fact that some of the newer inmates
newcomer
also have maybe had their vaccination first jab, or maybe even completed it themselves outside. But
I want to add something. I want to add something. We prefer we call it to casino. The casino vaccine, because it's single dose. It's easy for us.
Yes.
But we don't have all prison inmates being vaccinated by a casino, but we have Pfizer among them. So it depends. We can achieve more, we call it quick, if they are all vaccinated with casino.
A single jab there.
A single jab.
Yeah, interesting situation. Yeah, and I think it's definitely, like I said, it just opens up a different perspective, things that I think many Malaysians don't know about. You know, not just the prison system, but also handling the COVID-19 pandemic in the case of the inmates. And speaking of which, it's not an easy job. There's a lot of ins and outs of the inmates themselves. How does the prison department manage this in order to minimize the spread of COVID-19 overall? How has the process and journey been so far?
Okay, it's a good question, Jalil. Since 2020 February last year we started, when Malaysia is hit outbreak pandemic last in 2020 February, last 2 years. So we put we call it alert all level of our staff. So we draft we called it preventive measures to have been implemented. Then we do the prevention and control measures at every level. So first, when we called it how we meet an action, every level of prison administration. First, establish the COVID-19 committee at prison headquarters, as well as in every prison. So every prison in a state will administered by the prison state prison director. So they will encounter with we call it the Ministry of Health in the state. Mm-hmm. So in ministry level also, in Ministry of Home Affairs, we form a committee headed by Deputy Secretary General, and then where the members of the meeting comprises with the Ministry of Health members from the police, from the court, so many agencies. So they will monitor, we give input to them, what's going on in prisons, and we receive the email how we do it. So meeting with Ministry of Health regularly is this crucial part for us to make sure all our preventive measures are parallel and up to date with the latest national guideline. I think in and out with MOH, Ministry of Home Affairs, and Prison Department together, and other agencies. As I mentioned just now, because the number of inmates increasing from time to time, we take over the Pusat Latihan Khidmat Negara. So all the inmates, the newcomers, will put for a while for a quarantine for 10 days. Then we doing we call it the swab test. We identify, we screen them. If positive, Mr. Kong, we will send them to low-risk center. Low-risk center also in prison, not in other places. But in we call it serious case, we have to send to in hospital, right? Yeah. But in LRCC, we'll manage by the doctors from MOH located inside the prison. So I think this is our duties, and the Ministry of Health going well to control. So every state we having LRCC. Then the number now decreasing tremendously, and we put out our SOP compliance and everything. So we hope that the number of inmate which positive one and then fast recovery will reduce. At the moment we have 120. Compare last years, we actually the number, wow, more than 5,000 at the moment. So, but now only 120. Okay. I think it's a good, good result actually. How we do it together with put in place the SOP. Yeah. So last I want to mention here is about our staff. We don't forget our staff. So
I was about to say, I mean, you being the Deputy Commissioner from the Security and Correctional side, and then of course with the first stop, shall we say, being the converted Pusat Latihan Khidmat Negara and all, it must be very challenging managing the security and of course the flow of the inmates from one institution to another. Yeah, so that I guess it's on the onus of your side and officers that are reporting to your side.
Yeah, they have to work a long time actually. So among our staff, but they are very dedicated. No complaint at all. And the support from the government, they consider as a frontliner. So we provide them allowance for frontliner allowance. So it's some sort like the balancing how they contribute to our nation, but the government appreciate with the gift, we call it the allowance for the frontliner. So that's our contribution to countries. So I hope that the dedication will continue, and we will have to curbing the spreading. The pandemic among the inmates will be under control.
Right. Well, thanks for that, and of course a big thanks to your side and all the officers under the prison department overall. In these efforts to manage the pandemic but within the system, the prison system per se. Speaking of which, you mentioned SOPs. If we're putting it into perspective, we're trying to visualize how to even implement the SOPs amongst the inmates. Can you share with us how that's done? What are the SOPs? Are they different from our general public SOPs? And also, of course, the challenges in implementing and ensuring that the inmates are following the SOPs that are put in place.
Challenges always every day, every time, Mr. Kong, how to be compliant that our SOP put in place, right? As I mentioned, the inmate must be quarantined 10 days. The 10 days, I think, a long time, but they cannot go anywhere. They put one cell or one dormitory, they put together, might be the number less than 30 or less than 20. But they cannot go anywhere. They stay in the cell all the time, within 10 days. So sometimes of them, they are complain. Might be they are very boring staying in the cell. So if cell too small for them, so they may complain. So our officer will, we call it taking care. They are trying to treat them as we call it the very humanized treatment to them. But they have to understand they are under quarantine time. So first, as I mentioned just now, transmitted the disease or the pandemic through or via droplet. By the overcrowding, I'm sure that we cannot control.
Cannot avoid.
Yep. Yeah, we cannot control them. But we are trying to manage excellently. We call it how to the optimum manage them. So we hope that with understood by both parties, might be the families, the inmates, they are worried because they are staying in the big area or all the inmates. So you don't worry. We follow the SOP by in public and inside the prison also the same. So no discrimination among outside and outside. The important thing is we try to identify or screen the symptomatic prisoner having COVID-19. If they are positive, we send them to RCC to make sure they are not spread to other prisoners. So that's our duties to ensure that we call it the pandemic cannot break throughout all the prisoners inside the prison. So now we have we call it the good procedures. The implementation, we are under control now.
Thanks for sharing with us that particular process. Yeah, we're going to go for a very short break right here on Face to Face for today, Thursday, January the 6th, 2022. Excuse me, still getting used to the new year. Yeah, back in a few moments. Make sure you keep it locked right here on TRAXXfm.
Face to Face will be back right after this. Stay tuned to know more about today's topic exclusively on TRAXXfm.
Enjoy rides and dips in the river with the elephants in Kuala Ganda. TRAXXfm 105.3 Kuantan, Pahang.
Welcome back to Face right here on TRAXXfm's Trax Momentum. I'm speaking in person today to Dato Haji Abdul Aziz Abdul Razak, who is the Deputy Commissioner General of Prison, of Security and Correctional, Malaysia Prison Department, right? Thank you so much, Dato, for coming to us live in the studios. And just a quick note for our friends on Facebook Live. Thank you so much for joining us there. Lee Man Hui was the first to greet us. Good morning, our regular follower on TRAXXfm, Dato. And also a few shout-outs here from others as well. Aniza Dawood, greetings there. Saif, always listening to TRAXXfm's news but not other programs. Well, welcome. That's always the first time. Aniza Dawood also offers a congratulations to all members of the Malaysian Prisons Department for successfully controlling the spread of COVID-19 amongst prisoners and also staffs.
Thank you.
Rapid decline in the numbers, currently at 120 cases overall. Aida Muhammad also offers congratulations there as well. Awesome stuff, and thank you so much for the support and for the work that the Malaysian Prisons Department does, which, we don't really hear of so much. So it's good to actually be speaking from this angle and sharing it with the Malaysian listeners overall. Yeah. Speaking of sharing, we are live on Facebook Live now at TRAXXfm Official, the Trax Official Facebook page. If you want to say hello, you got a shout out to Dato and his officers and also staff, well, feel free to type in the comment section. Yeah, so we're talking about the SOPs and the challenges in managing them, right? In a prison context and the process flow to it. Speaking of which, the different status of the prisoners when it comes to their vaccination status, how is that managed? For example, is it compulsory for inmates to register for vaccines?
Yeah. Good question. Same like outside, Mr. Go.
Okay.
Same like outside. We encourage them. But if you follow our prison regulation, Article 19, prisoner may be vaccinated or re-vaccinated by advice of medical officer. So might be person outside. We are also encouraged, almost the same like inside the prison. We encourage to among inmates to take the vaccine. So we are not compulsory actually, not compulsory, but we encourage to take the inmate take the vaccinated to be vaccinated, and it shows us COVID-19 vaccine will able to reduce the severity of the disease as well as mortality due to COVID-19. So the issue is it compulsory or not compulsory? It's not compulsory, but we encourage them.
Right.
That the number I said just now, 91%, 83% for the completion. That's a good response actually,
right,
among the inmates.
Of course, the difference being if there are situations where it is highly advised by the medical officers, then that becomes necessary, right? Under the context of the prison setting overall, right? What is the process like? Similar first dose, second dose time, because it really is dependent on the medical requirements, isn't it?
Okay. How to vaccination process, right?
Yeah, and also in context with that, right? How has the response been like among inmates? I mean, for the rest of the Malaysian public, it will be, we know the overall acceptance, and then of course there's some level of vaccine hesitancy for in certain quarters.
Okay.
Is it different? Do you see a different pattern?
Same.
Okay.
It's the same. Same. It's not we call it a stranger from outside.
Okay.
First thing is we have to get we call it consent from the email. We work closely with health district officer. We will feed them with inputs how many inmates should be vaccinated. So first, then number two, if we call to get the consent from them, even though if you're juvenile, below age of 21 or below age of in Handicap school, we contact the family as well. So is it necessary to contact the family to give the consent in school or Handicap school? But in prison, that's our duty to we call it consult, and then they give a consent to vaccination. So the guideline and developed by the Ministry of Health on the administering COVID-19 vaccine for the inmate, we follow them. Okay, after get the consent from the inmates, the process of vaccination will administered by the team or MOH, and inmate will be monitored after 15 minutes. Monitor 15 after being vaccinated. If there was no problem with the health, after 15, we send them back to the main block. So same like us. When we having vaccinated, we stay for a while.
The monitoring
whatever our response, our bodies. If okay, this release them from the center. So same like inmate, we don't have any issues after we called it vaccinated, but might be. I mean, people worry about what happened, the previous, the current issues. Is it any side effect when they are having a vaccine? That's our duty to report to after every vaccination process. We call it the duty of the prison, the medical office to report to National Pharmaceutical Regulatory Agency. What's the effect after vaccination? So that's our duty to report. So might be under we got adverse event following immunization, AFI. So that the Ministry of Health doing the investigation. It's nothing. I hope people, community will not misleading with information. That's all.
Okay. Thanks for sharing that with us. Yeah. As well as if you've just joined us, we have been speaking to Dato Haji Abdul Aziz Abdul Razak, Deputy Commissioner General Prison, under Security and Correctional side of things. The Malaysian Prison Department here walking us through the situation as well as the challenges and also the process flow in terms of managing, breaking the COVID-19 chain in the prison system, right? Now, switching gears a little bit, I think it is important that since we have you here with us, Dato, about the rehabilitation efforts. That's very important, isn't it? Giving people a second chance. Right, hopefully not third or fourth. Yeah, I'm sure you've seen that happen in the context of your work, yeah, Dato. But tell us a bit about the Banduan Kerja Luar Penjara program. What is it and how does it work?
Okay, Banduan Kerja Luar Penjara we call it the pre-release program. Pre-release program might be a person we will granted for parole, as you mentioned. So they will in the community early from their date of release, but they are still under purview of prison officer to look after them, to monitor their whether they are really comply with the condition being granted before, right? So Banduan Kerja Luar meaning to say their work outside from the prison, okay, but with our permission. With some either with parole or we call it person under supervision, with ODS. So it's good actually. They are more, we call it more welcome to doing, we call it the rehabilitation in community. So we don't worry, the person will be discharged sooner or later. So we have to accept them early. So that's an issue in community. There are some of them or we call it the community cannot accept. So that's our challenge, how to make sure the Banduan Kerja Luar being accepted by the community. So we explain to them, we really engagement with them, how the benefit if they are outside early from the day of release, but still monitored by the prison department. They work, we call it, they must work outside or they stay with the family. The family will taking care of them. Then the prison officer will monitor from time to time regularly. So if the inmate or the Banduan does not follow the condition been assigned to them, we will revoke the order and send back to the prisons.
For both categories, those under parole and those under the special
supervision.
The supervision. By the way, Dato, can you explain how does an inmate get the status of under supervision? Is that something that's selected by?
Yeah, really selected. Yeah, must comply our rehabilitation program. Must achieve a certain grade. If not excellent, sorry, we cannot give you. If they give, very good, when we call it the performance for the rehabilitation, and then we give permission.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for the explanation. What kind of work is included in this program?
Okay. They work in factory. They work in plantation. They work in the service sector now. Plantation, in oil palm, and rubber. So in manufacturing, like in our, we called it like Panasonic, and then construction sector. So many of them. At the moment, we have 3,300 outside from the prison. They are not stay in prison. They work outside. So the number will increase from time to time. What our aim, the number will increase from time to time. But the very important thing, the outside people, how we hope that they can accept the inmate. So the employer will provide more job that they can work. They use a number, or we call it the government burden, government money, expenditure for, because they're outside. They cannot, we don't have, we call it to give them meals, everything. They work, they have to pay on their own.
Right.
So that's our objective, to reduce the burden of the government. And then also the rehabilitation is very effective. Rehabilitation very, very, because they are must very disciplined. They how to communicate with others, members in the working environment. They have to, we call it, have self-confidence. that we call it rehabilitation in communities.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's the most effective way of rehabilitation overall, where it's assimilated back into just outside regular Malaysia, and how that works. Are visitations by relatives allowed during this time? Is the contact allowed?
All right. In prison, we have what you call it visitation program, depending on their stages. If we have a stage 1, 2, and 3 until 4. We allow them to visit by the families or the relative, provided that the state must be in, we call it the phase 4 of the COVID level. We call it the recovery program. But now all over the Malaysia, it's a phase 4. It's nothing.
Right.
So they have we call it appointment before they visit, but they cannot visit contact where they're having we call it over the phone. They can visit their relatives.
Okay, well, interesting, and definitely some things to think about, and some things to appreciate as well within the context of our content today. So many aspects to have been in discussion with my guest today, Dato Haji Abdul Aziz Abdul Razak, Deputy Commissioner General Prison, Malaysian Prisons Department. Any final messages as we are fast running out of time, Dato?
Okay, thank you for inviting us to share. That's our experience, our duty to make it people more understood how carry our duties to curbing the COVID-19 among the inmates. So I hope that the cooperation, all the agencies and the communities will continue, and hope the number of infected COVID-19 among the inmates will decrease from time to time. So until the number will really achieve a certain, very acceptable level. So our rehabilitation program inside the prison will continue. What happens if the prison is under enhanced movement control order? We cannot do anything, Mr. Goh. So at the time, we have to do our program rehabilitation. So we hope that the pandemic will eliminate and we can continue our programs there.
And all the best. The year has only just begun, so wish you the best of the unfolding of the year to come, right? In your endeavors, your duties, towards your aspiration, goals, and also your objectives, right? Of handling, in this case, of course, making sure that the pandemic is under control in the Malaysian prison systems. A big thanks to my guest today, Dato Haji Abdul Aziz Abdul Razak from the Malaysian Prison Department, for coming to us live in the studios in person for our weekly face-to-face program. Thank you so much, Dato.
Okay, welcome.
Yes, and thank you for joining us on the airwaves, as well as for those of you who have been with us on Facebook Live. We appreciate it. As we wrap up this week's face-to-face segment, stay tuned right here on TRAXXfm. I will be back after the noon quick news updates with the afternoon half of today's program. So make sure you keep it locked right here on Trax. Good morning.
That's all the time we have for today's Face to Face. We'll be back next week with your host speaking to the panelists discussing interesting topics. Join us next week, Face to Face, exclusively on TRAXXfm.